What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the show. My name is Mark Farzy. This is the Farzy Show presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. We got one hell of a walk-off win to talk about with the Philadelphia Phillies last night. And Derrick Gunn joins the program to talk all things Eagles and training camp. And he does answer one question in particular. Is Howie Roseman eyeing anyone in particular for training camp? Not necessarily on his team right now, but maybe somebody else to go out there and get, i.e. CJ, GJ of last year, which about a week before the season started, the Eagles all of a sudden had a new free safety. Also, he has a different take on the safety position in general. Well, maybe we've all been wrong about this entire situation with Reed Blankenship being a solidified starter already. Could be somebody else competing for his job. So we'll talk all about the Eagles with Derrick Gunn. Later today, we're going to hear from Nick Sirianni. He'll be addressing the media before today's first practice of training camp. So it all officially gets underway today after Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, and all the offensive linemen for the most part. Lane Johnson, I saw. All wearing overalls for the first day of school, as Cam Jurgens put it. You know what? They're coming in good spirits, which is nice. We also have James Harden to talk about because he did a little interview with USA Today. If you haven't seen the interview with James Harden in the USA Today, I think they call it Seriously Sports. 9.5 minutes. I think it was 9 minutes and 36 seconds. James Harden does this interview. I don't know why he did this interview. Usually if you're seeing a story like this with a player whose name has already been in the news and they're agreeing to, an offbeat interview, meaning it's not like with their, it's not with like NBC Sports Philadelphia, or it's not with their flagship radio station or their, flagship whatever. Their website, the Sixers.com, which of course he's not going to do an interview, or NBA.com. Usually it's because they're pushing something or they're making the rounds on radio, whatever. Usually what's going down here is he's pushing a product. There is no real mention of a product. I mean, they mentioned the Houston Dynamo, the MLS team, because James Harden wants to sign a player like Lionel Messi, for instance. Okay, good luck finding that guy. But they want to sign a big name, foreign player, basically. He mentioned his wine, but they didn't really say. And by the way, James Harden has a wine tasting coming up in Houston or in Northern California. Like, there was nothing. I was waiting for the plug. I was waiting for what he was endorsing, and it was nothing. So anyway, he goes through this 9-minute and 36-second interview and never gets asked about his status with the 76ers. So we'll go through that. I also learned some other things about James Harden that I didn't know. And we'll go through all that and more. But let's start it off with the Philadelphia Phillies, ladies and gentlemen, because if football, which we'll be celebrating every single day, obviously, through training camp and really until the Eagles hopefully make another Super Bowl run in this upcoming season. If football is a game of inches, baseball is a game of centimeters, like quarter centimeter. Because depending, like if you just talk about hitting a baseball, how much that centimeter matters as to where you hit the baseball, that's what you can talk about. It also matters when it's JT Realmuto busting it down the line to try to beat out a throw from Mateo there at shortstop in order to keep an inning going, keep a rally going, and make sure you keep Alec Bohm coming to the plate to knock in the game-winning RBI single to left field, which is exactly what he did last night. Or if you're talking about Nick Castellanos, being able to rob extra bases away from the Orioles with the spectacular catch that he made in right field yesterday. Just one of many spectacular plays he's made in right field for the Phillies this season. Rob Thompson even said after the game, he didn't think anybody was getting to that ball. But Nick Castellanos find a way to put that glove out and just about snow cone that hit and take it away from the Orioles. It was spectacular. And as this game went, Rojas's catch right up against the wall, going up there to catch it, seeing Brandon Marsh swoop in there in the early goes of the ball game to make sure extra bases weren't there if it did carry him off the wall. It was perfect. It wasn't easy, but it was perfect. My question after last night's game, and we'll go through the whole thing, but my question after last night's game, how does Rob Thompson walk into a clubhouse? How does he do that today and tell Bryson Stott, Alec Bohm, that they're not top of the order hitters? How does he do that today? I don't know how. After last night's game, he did let us in a little secret, basically. It really hasn't been much of a secret considering we see the lineup every day. Kyle Schwarber's the leadoff hitter of this baseball team. He's the guy they're going to, quote, win with, according to Rob Thompson after last night's game. He's the guy he wants at the top of the order. Still, I know that they went through a great run. They're in danger today of losing, 4 of their last 5 series now? And that's not good. Their 3rd series in a row, so that's not good. I understand that you won a lot of games with Kyle Schwarber. I understand you made it to a World Series last year with Kyle Schwarber at the top of the order. But you basically, and we've talked about this with Evan Macy of PhillyVoice.com, basically you don't have anybody else. Last year you didn't have anybody else that would really take over that leadoff spot. This year you got a guy that is ready to take off that leadoff spot in Bryson Stott. So why not put him at the top of the order? Well, apparently according to Rob Thompson, it's set in stone, my words, not his, that Kyle Schwarber's your leadoff hitter. Okay, fine. So what about Bryson Stott as number 2? What about Alec Bohm as number 2? What about that? You mean to tell me Trey Turner is set in stone as your 2-hole hitter? Because I don't understand at all how you can now tell guys that are helping you literally win baseball games that they need to hide down in the bottom of the order, and Trey Turner continues to get second ABs in this lineup. That is a travesty. That is a baseball travesty that you're going to continue to have Trey Turner bat second. Look, if Kyle Schwarber is unbudgeable from the top of that order, then we got to find something else here with the Phillies. We got to find some other way to get consistent offense. And I think the only way you do that is you reward the guys that have actually helped you win baseball games and played consistently well throughout this entire season, because Trey Turner hasn't done it. And if I'm Rob Thompson today, I'm walking into that dugout, I'm walking into that clubhouse, and I'm putting up the lineup card. I'm going to Trey Turner and said, hey, look, I asked you yesterday, do you want to be in this game today? And you said, absolutely. And I put you in the lineup. Maybe it was a day you should have been off. Maybe it wasn't. Turns out, after the fact, she should have been off. We tried it your way, Trey Turner. We're going to try it my way now. I'm shaking things up. Alec Bohm, if he doesn't want to have so many left-handed hitters batting one after the other in the order, then that tells me Alec Bohm better be the number 2 guy in the lineup today. Personally, I would have it Stott. I would have it Stott, Bohm, Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber, and do whatever the hell you want after that. That's the way I would have it if I'm Rob Thompson. But Rob Thompson today needs to go into that clubhouse for this 6:05 start time against the Orioles. Game 3 of this 4-game series, game 3 of this 3-game series. He needs to go into that clubhouse and say, Trey, we tried it your way. We got to try it my way. You're getting today off. The whole team has the day off tomorrow. Use this as a reboot. Use this as a reset. And when we come back, we're going to see how Bohm can handle that 2 spot in the order. We're going to move you down, hopefully settle you down, hopefully take some pressure off yourself. You'll have other guys around you, hopefully that can hit. And that's the spot we're going to have you in. That's the spot. I mean, to me, if you're going to go with the 1-2 punch of Schwarber and Bohm, I mean, I'd hate to see Stott continue to bat at the bottom, or not in the top 4 in the order. If I can settle for top 5, like we've seen over the last couple of days, all right, fine. But then Trey Turner's going to be batting 6 in this lineup, potentially. And I know it's difficult to do that with a $300 million man, but I know I've said Rob Thompson a bunch of times already. It's not just Rob Thompson. It is the front office. It is Dave Dombrowski. You have to reorganize this lineup in some way, shape, or form. You can't continue to tell the guys that this is okay. I understand you're trying to get the absolute most you can out of a 300 hitter or $300 million man with Trey Turner. You're trying to reset things. You batted him. You shook things up a little bit before where you batted him cleanup. You know what? He responded in the month of June with a .350 on base percentage. And that was the guy you could get behind. That was the guy you could say, all right, it's starting to come around a little bit. Well, now we're right back to where we started. So that means I think you need another shakeup. And with Bryce Harper back in this lineup, Bryce Harper healthy, I don't think that means Trey Turner's going to be back in cleanup. I think it means right now, if you're really looking at this, Trey Turner needs to be your 6 or 7-hole hitter. Assuming, again, Schwarber's not moving, you have Schwarber, Bohm, Harper, Castellanos, Stott, Real Muto, Turner, and whoever you got after that. That's the way you got to organize. Marsh, right? Rojas, right? That's the way you got to have it. Until the trade deadline, that's the way I think the Phillies need to draw up this lineup. I mean, I would still do more changes. I wouldn't have Schwarber lead off. I'd have Schwarber bat either fifth or cleanup, probably fifth. And I'd have Stott at the top of the order with Alec Bohm batting second. But I think the only compromise we're going to get from Rob Thompson at this point is moving Trey Turner out of the 2-hole. And I think that has to happen, and that has to happen right now. Right now. Maybe the trade deadline comes and you can shake things up again. But as of right now, I don't see any other way you do it. I referenced this last night on the postgame show. When I look at this situation with Trey Turner, I look at the situations that's been brewing all season with Alec Bohm and Bryson Stott. I think about this one instance because I thought it was such a great way to put the question. To go in the football world for a second here, all right? Les Bowen asked this question so perfectly of Chip Kelly when Michael Vick and Nick Foles were having that battle in Chip Kelly's first year, that quarterback competition to see who was going to be the starter. And Michael Vick went out there and just absolutely balled out in training camp and in the preseason. And I remember one particular instance, he went out there in the preseason and he just absolutely was dominant. And Les Bowen asked the question. It was like the third game of the preseason, maybe the fourth game of the preseason. And Les Bowen went up to Chip Kelly in the postgame press conference and he just said, after that performance, how do you tell Michael Vick that he's not your starting quarterback? And I think Chip Kelly really didn't have much to say other than, oh, yeah, it was a great performance, that kind of thing. But it was a perfect way to say it. So, Rob Thompson, how do you go up to Alec Bohm and say you're not more deserving of a more, prestigious spot in this lineup, especially after last night's game? And you know what, Rob Thompson, good on you for trying to be a really great players manager, for really trying to get the most out of a player. And you know what, Dave Dombrowski, good on you for your patience. We're past that point now. I think we're well past that point. You guys have made the point that you really want these guys, you really want Trey Turner to do well. Now it's belabored. Now it is past time to move him down to the order. And you know what? You have a great stretch here. You have today and you have tomorrow. You give Trey Turner off today. He'll have off tomorrow with the rest of the team. He comes back, and so help me God, if he's batting above 6, I will lose my damn mind. Agree or disagree with me on this lineup? All in all, this is what's got the Phillies after last night's win. Cincinnati Reds were out there last night doing their thing. Arizona Diamondbacks doing their thing. They beat the Cardinals. Come on, Ari, rally your team here. And the San Francisco Giants won on a Mike Yastrzemski RBI double in the 8th inning to help them stay just atop the Phillies right there. So it's the Reds, Diamondbacks, Giants occupying the 3 wild card spots, with the Phillies just a half game behind them, and the Marlins a game out after taking an L to the Tampa Bay Rays last night. By the way, something cool in the Giants series there with the A's, because they're both, across the bay. For anyone who doesn't know that. Oakland is moving to Vegas more often than not. I thought this was pretty cool. Oakland moving to Vegas. So the A's fans and the Giants fans protested together the A's moving to Vegas, and they handed out black Cell T-shirts. Thought that was pretty cool. Like, picture a team in South Jersey that you had a little rivalry with here. Like, let's just picture an MLB team in South Jersey, and you didn't want them to move. That's how close you'd be. You like that rivalry, right? Every once in a while, interleague play, you play that team, and it's kind of cool, right? So in solidarity, the teams came together to keep that rivalry going. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. 2 fan bases coming together. You won't see that with Dodger fans and Giants fans. No, of course not. You won't see that. But the A's fans, that was cute. I liked it. But anyway, Philly's still very much in the wild card hunt, obviously. So we'll look forward to seeing how all the rest of that shakes out for the rest of this week up into the trade deadline. So I look forward to all that. The James Harden interview. Oh, by the way, we're going to end with the Derrick Gunn interview. I got a Crazy day today, folks. I'm doing this show, as we always do, and then I'll be running over to Fox 29. I'll be doing a hit with Fox 29, and then I am coming back to co-host Birds 365 as John McMullen's got to make it to the NovaCare complex for Nick Sirianni's interview. What do you call it? The little thing there, the press conference. And then I'll be on with Jody Mack and Birds 365 starting up around 8:30. I'll be on with Jody Mack. So I look forward to that. And then, oh, yeah, there's more. Then I'll be interviewing Jeff Mosher, our friend from Inside the Birds. He'll be on this show tomorrow to talk all things Eagles. And then I'll be doing Birds. I'll be doing the post-game Phillies show here on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. To talk all things Phillies, and hopefully a series win over the Baltimore Orioles. Man, this AL East is supposed to be so great, and the Phillies are just having the time of their lives. Sweeping the Rays, and then hopefully after today we can really say that when they take 2 or 3 from the Orioles, and then all will be right with the world. One more thing I wanted to get into. Oh, Taijuan Walker last night. 104 pitches through 5 2/3. Didn't have his best stuff, but gutted out a performance. 5 2/3, two earned runs in that time. Then Matt Strahm came in, got one out, sat down, came back in, went an inning, did well, sat back down, and then came back out for more. What the hell was that, Rob Thompson? Don't like that. The last time he has had 3 up-downs, okay, which are now a thing in baseball. The last time he had 3 up-downs, the Phillies were still having bullpen games. The only other time was a extra inning affair, the 11-inning affair against the Tampa Bay Rays in Tampa. That's the only other time he's had that many up-downs. Kind of an emergency situation right there. So I would really like to limit the amount of time. Like, if he's sitting down once after getting one out and coming back, I get it. All right, he can do that. But 3 times? That's a little much. I was surprised, and sure enough, they ended up making the Phillies pay for it with a home run to end up take the lead. So there you go. Holy pots and pans. All right. Oh, no. God. There was so much in the game. I got to give Bryson Stott a shout-out as well for the game-tying double. That was a thing of beauty. That was the best possible place to put that baseball in the right field corner. And how poetic was it that Bryce Harper had another opportunity in this instance to score not the go-ahead run, but the tying run, and he did it tonight. Wasn't able to do it, or did it last night. Wasn't able to do it the previous night. Thing of beauty. Yesterday, I had said that I would give Trey Turner the day off. Rob Thompson, I feel like he did the right thing. You're a baseball player. You want to get out there immediately and try to rebound. Trey Turner went out there, another 0 for night. Okay, didn't get ejected this time. Didn't have an error, but almost did. The first or second play of the game, that ground ball to short, Trey Turner fields it, throws to first, and threw it in the dirt. And Bryce Harper was right there to, I mean, it didn't have to be a great pick, but he still had to pick it. And from that moment on, I went, Trey, this is not going to be Trey's night. He is squeezing the ball way too tight. And sure enough, went 0 for 4 from the plate. So I'm done. There is no logical explanation for A, Trey Turner being on the lineup tonight, and B, Trey Turner batting second, of course, tonight. No way. Rob, Dave Dombrowski, can't let it happen tonight. You have an opportunity here to give Trey Turner 2 days off. You do it. Let me tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen. No, not about an ad. Not yet. But let me tell you about this little interview that happened with James Harden yesterday. He goes on, I don't know if it's Seriously Sports or if it's Sports Seriously. Like, I don't know which one it is for USA Today. But he does the interview. And I'm looking at it like, what is going on here? He's not getting asked about, like, I see the quote about players having empowerment, forcing trades, go where they want to go, more or less have final say, have the ability to seek their own trade and all that stuff. And I read that and I go, okay, that's it. So I do some research and I look around and I find the full interview. And I sit and I watch the full interview. And I think to myself, was there an agreement beforehand where he said he'd do the interview, but he can't ask me about this, that, or the other? And the roundabout way to do it, which is how I guess they ended up doing, was asking about Damian Lillard. So I can't, it's YouTube, right? So I can't, unfortunately, play anything for you, but here's what I got. Out of this interview yesterday, James Harden was asked about player empowerment, and he said, about Dame Lillard in particular, and he said, I get both sides. I get a team not wanting to give you away for nothing, and I get the player having the right to choose where he wants to go and where he would want to play. They have to meet in the middle. Having gone through it before, past tense, I get it. Wasn't asked about his relationship with Daryl Morey. Wasn't asked about wanting to play for the Clippers. Nothing like that. He also revealed he's a 49ers fan, which, to use a word the kids like to say, which totally tracks. Whiny. And he also said he wants to recruit someone to his MLS team. He's a minority owner of Houston's MLS team. To me, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know how you do that interview. I don't know how you say it's okay to do that interview and not ask him about the two most important things, which are the relationship now with Daryl Morey. Reports are that it's fractured. Are they fractured? Okay. Or, hey, do you want to play for the Clippers or do you want to play for the Sixers? What's going on? Where are you going to be playing next year? Where do you want to be playing next year? Oh, that's the business side of it, which would totally track as well. Considering the first question by the person conducting the interview, whose name I don't know, I'm not familiar with their work, but when he was asked about, you're going into your 14th NBA season. What have you learned through those, or 14 seasons, the first three? What have you learned in your career? First words out of his mouth. It's a business. That's what he's learned. It's a business. Not, it's really hard to win. It's a business. Okay. I was looking for some insight. I was looking for some answer that would help us understand what's going to happen in this offseason. But he also said he likes to stay off social media, which I find very odd considering it was just this week that he posted the thing about, time to be uncomfortable. And also, I'll tell you one other thing. One thing I also really like is, who was it, the latest that came out and said he's played with more Hall of Famers than just about anybody. Like, look in the mirror, man. Look in the mirror. I think it was Stephen A. that came out with the look in the mirror part about it. Was it Chris Paul? I want to say that came out with the James Harden thing about, hey, man, you play with a lot of great players. Maybe it's not everybody else's fault. Huh? Maybe it's your fault. Maybe you need to concentrate on all that. Oh, it's Tracy McGrady. Tracy McGrady coming away. Legion Sports putting this out there. That makes zero sense to me. I look at all the teammates he's played with. James probably played with more Hall of Famers than anybody in the NBA, and he doesn't have a ring to show for it. I don't know what he's looking for by way of Howard Beck. So there you go. And all that is accurate. All that is very accurate. Highly unfortunate, folks. Highly unfortunate. All right, we're going to do the chat check early today, folks. A couple of news and notes real quick. Number one thing, Andrew Painter had successful surgery yesterday for the Phillies, which is great. Jose Alvarado was throwing on the field yesterday, also great. Sir Anthony Dominguez was getting up at one point in the game. Then the Orioles took the lead, and he sat down, and then Junior Marte ended up coming in. But Sir Anthony would have made an appearance if that game stayed tied. So there you go. We're going to do a chat check a little bit early, so just get you guys a minute to get ready to do all that. But let me tell you right now about my friend Steven Singer at Steven Singer Jewelers, in the corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row. For over 40 years, Steven's been in the love business in Philadelphia, helping people get engaged and fall in love. Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Now, what do you get at Steven Singer Jewelers? Well, I'll tell you right now. You know what you get at Steven Singer? You get the perfect price, and you get treated like a real family member. So what does that mean? That means when you go into the other corner of 8th and Walnut, you're going to get treated like a real family member. You're not going to get, bogged down with haggling and negotiating. You're not going to have that pressure of that kind of sale. No. You're going to get taken care of with the perfect price. So it's no pressure sale. You just sit down, relax, and get taken care of by the beautiful, amazing staff at Steven Singer Jewelers. You go to any other jeweler, they're marking things way up just to mark it down a couple of bucks. Hey, you really got me on that. You're a really great negotiator. But at Steven Singer Jewelers, you get that perfect price each and every day. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com or at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. So trust Steven Singer, the man with the perfect price. How about the incredible people at Manscaped? Manscaped.com, the leader in below-the-waist grooming. Join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with their skin-safe technology that helps you reduce the risk of nicks so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. So check out Manscaped at manscaped.com. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll enjoy their Platinum Package 4.0, which includes their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, as well as their Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. And yes, once again, skin-safe technology. So check out Manscaped at manscaped.com. How about our friends over there at Freestone Farm CBD? You like CBD? You use CBD? You want to try CBD? Maybe you want to switch up your CBD. How about Freestone Farm CBD at FreestoneFarmCBD.com? You'll love their tropical tasting Bayox that clocks into the chart topping 24.1%, or super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. So next to these guys are off the charts. So try Freestone Farm CBD at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. And finally, how about PHL Sports Nation? Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check today before we get to our friend Derrick Gunn. Started over here on the Farzy show YouTube channel. What's going on? Sean Kilrain. Real Muto has wheels. I love to see him beat out that throw at first. It kept the inning going. Mateo double clutched. Real Muto took advantage. Look, your bat's not always going to be there. It sounds like my grade school coaches, but your bat's not always going to be there, but the hustle will always be there. Hustle and defense, baby. For the most part, that's been there for JT Realmuto. So, yeah, he beat Sean Kilray. Now it's time to shake things up. The lineup to see. Now it's time to shake up the lineup, to see who goes where. Come not when he's playoffs time. Yeah, I agree, Sean. I think I'm just a moron, and I'm just not reading that right. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? Good morning. Go Sixers, don't trade Bohm. I don't want to trade Bohm. But if you're giving me Nolan Arenado, then maybe I'm trading Bohm. Go Sixers, Sean Kilrain. Good morning. Farzy, jack of all trades. Thank you. Yes, and then I'll be doing a song and dance number for everyone. Mullet Alvarado, what's going on? I want my Farzy TV all day, all night. Say hi to Mike and Alex. All right. You settle down there, Mullet. Alex is awesome, though. You know what? I don't even know if Alex is going to be there today because Alex is usually in some, far-off land enjoying life. But she is awesome. Big fan of Alex Ollie. Sean Kilray, today's lineup, in my opinion, Stott, Bohm, Castellanos, Harper, Schwarber, Realmuto, Marsh, Rojas, Sosa. I agree with you, Sean. You and I are on the same page. He just won't move Schwarber out of the leadoff spot. Last night he affirmed it. He was asked about potentially putting Stott ahead of the leadoff spot. He said, well, no, Schwarber's our leadoff guy. That's the guy we're going to win with. That's the guy we've won a lot of games with at the leadoff spot. Like, you can justify Kyle Schwarber at the top of the order. And I know some people think that's crazy with a 180 batting average and a 320 on base percentage. I know a lot of people think it's crazy to try to justify it, but they went to the World Series last year with him leading the way. They had their best run of the season when he went to the leadoff spot. I agree with you that it's time for a change, but the other side of it is you've won a lot of games, bottom line. All that matters is winning. You win with him at the top of the order, he's going to stay at the top of the order. But one thing you can't justify, one thing that does not make any damn sense, is Trey Turner being in the lineup today and Trey Turner batting in the 2-hole at any point in the very near future. Makes no sense whatsoever. Trey Turner gets the day off today. The whole team's off tomorrow. He gets a chance to reboot. He gets a chance to reset, and then everybody's back at it the following day. On Friday, when you start this weekend series on the road with the Pirates, and Trey Turner bats 6th. That's the way it has to happen. That's the way it has to go down. There's no other way to do it. Everything else is wrong. Like, I don't even feel like sometimes I'll give an opinion. I don't even feel like it's an opinion. I feel like I'm just stating like scientific fact. And this is one of those instances. There's no way Trey Turner should be batting 2nd in this lineup for the foreseeable future. No way I should see him in the lineup today. No way I'm belaboring the point, but you guys know where I'm at. B.I. Sanders was going, daycare saved the day. Started, boom. How about that daycare? I feel like we're in an instance here where with the daycare, I feel like, and now the pupil becomes the teacher. That's what I feel. Sean Gillespie, Harden has done good business for himself. He absolutely has. I'm going to say D Nasty. 215, what's going on? Bohm has to be 2nd. I concur. Let's flip it over to the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Oh, D Nasty is on here too. Farzy, my man. I think this is the first time I'm able to catch you live. Oh, thank you, D Nasty. Welcome in, man. Tony, what's up, Tony? Tony Bolognavich. Did I get that? Was I close? Lithuanian? Maybe. Anyway. James Harden isn't going to help lead the Sixers to a championship ever. Oh, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. That's why I want to move on as fast as possible. I like the idea that his trade value is going to get any higher than it is right now. I think is dumb, really dumb. So I hope let's just say the Clippers. I hope the Sixers and the Clippers are on the same page in some way, shape, or form. I just don't see. Like Terrence Mann is the name that a lot of people want. I don't see it happening. I'd love for it to happen. I don't see it happening. I'm at a point now where I just want to make sure I avoid the problem. And maybe you can hover around this same type of spot for a couple, I don't know, months. And Morey's going to do that because he's going to play the long game. Maybe you could hover around where you're at right now. But the other side of it is when training camp does start, and if Harden shows up and he really does cause a headache and things get out, then there's no way Terrence Mann is included in that deal. So my goal is get a first-round pick. That's it. Run it back with Maxey, Toby, and obviously Joel Embiid. You have Patrick Beverley, either maybe starting now or coming off the bench. Obviously, P.J. Tucker's still here. DeAnthony Melton's still here. Paul Reed obviously here. And your stable of centers that you've amassed. But I don't think Terrence Mann's going to be part of this. And yes, Daryl Morey's going to wait until training camp. Hopefully the week before, so you give a little bit of leeway to not let Harden go off on anything. And maybe you get Terrence Mann then. But if you don't, you move on immediately. My only goal is to get that first-round pick at this point. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great, as per usual. Oh, it is Dynasty. Miss Guzzi. So you went with it that way. Very nice. Good job. All right, everybody. I'm going to hand things over to me and Derrick Gunn as Gunner joins us to talk all things Eagles from training camp. Also head over to Fox 29. You guys can catch more of me a little bit later in the day. Jim Hyden produced the program, did a wonderful job. You guys are great. Here is Gunner with some great takes on all things Jalen Hurts, all things the safety position, very intriguing, and if Howie Roseman's kicking the tires anywhere around the NFL to add to this team before training camp lets out. I'll see you guys, I'll see you guys Birds 365, then I'll see you guys again tonight. All right, have a good one. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Joining us on the Roth and Orthopedics guest line from Sports Take with our friend Rob Ellis here on the Jacob Media YouTube channel for those watching on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. And also my partner in crime when it comes to Eagles game day activities right here on Jacob Media, Derrick Gunn joins us. What's up there, Gunner?
Farzy, how you been, my brother?
I'm doing fantastic. It's great to see you again.
And
If we're talking, then we're either talking about how you don't share your barbecue with anyone outside the circle of family, or we're talking Eagles football.
There you go. Both of them are primary topics in my lifestyle.
And we can bitch about other issues, of course.
Sure we do.
Family and beautiful kids and all that stuff.
Yes. Tribulations, yes.
I have learned so much from you, my friend. Gunner, it's training camp time. I know like the players always talk about that little twitch, that little like, oh, well, it's training camp. I'm talking about, former players. I'm talking about current players. You're a current Eagles insider, reporter, talk show host. When this time of the season comes around, do you feel that little twitch, that little buzz in the air where it's a little bit less about the talk and more about the action on the field?
No. No. For a couple of reasons. Number one, training camp always signifies that my summer is slowly but surely coming to an end. And I love my summers. If you know me, you know I love my summers. And it means once football season, now I get stoked the week of the first game, and that's the season opener, not necessarily the Eagles' first game, but that first Thursday night game to kick off a new year. I get stoked the week of that game because that's when it's real. That's when you start talking about the real stuff. But when you look at training camps as they're structured today, take the Eagles training camp primarily, if you will, for a moment. You have one day of practice, you get a day off, or no access by the media. You have another day of practice, no access by the media. All of a sudden, 3 or 4 days into camp, players' day off, no access by the media. So it's not like training camp that we knew Mark Farzetta and held near and dear to our hearts, where you had a whole week of access to the players, endless access. And they control the narrative even more so now. They bring selected players to the podium. So you can't just run up and down the field and interview whoever you want, or you have to ask for a special request. And maybe it'll be granted, maybe it won't be granted. So you stand out there, you watch practice, and I'll never get caught up in all the stories you see coming out on Twitter. So made a triple somersault, backward, one-handed catch because it's in a controlled environment. Your teammates don't you dare hurt your teammate, especially one that's making $100 million or $300 million. Mm-hmm. So I don't get too jacked up anymore like I used to about training camp. The days of the double hit, double practice, 3-hour session hitting where you knew somebody was going to throw down the first 3 or 4 days in camp, those are like the prehistoric era. They've been buried. It's a novel idea. It doesn't happen much anymore. So I'm not here to rain on your parade. You asked me a question, my friend, and I gave you as honest an answer as I did. I've been covering this game over 4 decades, and training camp just doesn't stoke my fire the way it is.
Well, let me ask you this, and I would expect nothing but honesty from a man like you, a man of honor, Derrick Gunn.
A man of my age? Go ahead. Throw it at me if you will. I can take it.
I would never in a million years. I do have to ask you this, though. And, you mentioned those acrobatic catches that people will tweet about and make social media, whatever. And I'll give you an example. I remember my first training camp as a kid, going to my first training camp as a kid to watch the Eagles. And I remember Randall Cunningham was throwing passes at Widener University. And Luke the Refrigerator Perry, I believe it was, got in line with the wide receivers and caught a pass from the first one was a little overthrown, go figure. And the second one he reeled in. I remember that. Do you have a memory or anything that sticks out of training camp? Just anything, not like your favorite memory. You're just like, one of your top 3 that sticks out about your training camp memory.
I would say the year the Eagles signed T.O. And when he went to Lehigh, there were over 25,000 people in those bleachers and standing along the fences to watch T.O. That was the thing. It was nice enough when you go up there and the stands would be crowded because people were just stoked to see the Eagles practice. It's almost like watching a free game and you get little backdoor access because you saw how they would go station to station. People took that in, and then you take a break and people will go get lunch and then you come back for the afternoon session. But when T.O. came here, dude, it was like he was a Pied Piper of Philadelphia. People came from far and wide just to sit and watch him practice, especially those that knew they weren't going to have game tickets, couldn't afford to go to game tickets for whatever the case may be. But that will always stick out in my mind. And all the years I've covered, pro football I've covered this game since the late 70s. And that was a phenomenon that's second to none about how many people jammed. The parking lots were ridiculous. The lines trying to get to Lehigh were ridiculous. It was like going to a concert or going to a ball game at Lincoln Financial Field or Wells Fargo Center. If you didn't get there early enough, you weren't getting the parking space. You'd have to park 100, 200 yards away or park on somebody's grass illegally to get. But people flocked there like never before. I'll never forget that summer.
Oh, I remember walking from that parking lot to the practice field. That felt like it was 10 miles long on those hot summer days.
Heat, high humidity, the whole 9 yards, brother. Yes.
As far as this team goes, I want to backtrack just 1 year with you. I remember sitting in at Ocean Casino with you and Seth Joyner for the Jacob Media pregame show. And I remember sitting there and we're all just about to roll on the season opener. And all the talk was about to go completely out the window about whether Jalen Hurts was the guy.
Yep.
How far, really, and when you look back on it, has Jalen Hurts exceeded expectations from that moment right before the season kicked off to the contract and now entering training camp? How far has he exceeded expectations?
I would say it's a tremendous amount, and kudos to him for the work he put in. And the coaches working with him and identifying what his strengths were and whatever weaknesses he might have, covering up those minuscule deficiencies. But it starts with the quarterback himself, who dedicated himself during the offseason, working out with individual coaches, studying film, being in there when other people weren't, getting in the best shape he could possibly be in for what's to come, especially in a highly critical market like Philadelphia. So he exceeded everybody's expectations and then some. We knew he was a great athlete. We all wondered, could that athleticism translate into being a great quarterback? And lo and behold, it did. Consider he missed 2 games and he still finished second in the MVP rankings. That tells you the respect that he garnered around the National Football League. His ability not just to run, but to break tackles, his strength. His accuracy improved tremendously with the addition of A.J. Brown. And you cannot say enough about the onus he put on his own shoulders to improve himself and to prove the doubters wrong. And boy, did he prove a lot of his doubters wrong.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people on the national scene seem to be disrespecting our guy, Jalen Hurts.
Of course, it's Philadelphia. What do you expect?
So true. But in all honesty, where do you have him ranked? And obviously everyone's going to weigh in on this, but where do you have him ranked in terms of NFL quarterbacks going into this season?
I'd have to say top 4 to top 5.
Top 4 to top 5. Okay.
And when you start getting down to 3, 4, and 5, it's easy for me to say I put him at number 2. Mm-hmm. And if I put him at number 2, I strongly feel he should be at number 2. But some might have him at 3, 4, 5. When you consider the Josh Allens of the world and quarterbacks like that, there's an argument to be had in a lot of cases. But in terms of efficiency, taking care of the football, being productive, minimizing mistakes, how could he not be in the top 3? Mm-hmm. You have to put him in the top 3.
Okay.
This man came within 3 points of winning a Super Bowl. He outplayed the MVP in the Super Bowl. Despite the one mistake he had early in the game, he still overcame that and had a phenomenal game. I think Jalen Hurts is definitely one of the elite quarterbacks in the National Football League, and he's still blossoming as a professional athlete.
All right. I want to say this first because I want to acknowledge that you said something really nice about Jalen Hurts. You would say top 2, but you understand the top 4 to 5 kind of range there.
Right.
So you've just said something extremely nice about Jalen Hurts, that he's a really good quarterback. He outplayed the MVP of the league in the Super Bowl, and you said all this nice stuff, and you like Jalen Hurts just like most of us. What do you need to see from him in the upcoming season? Not in terms of accolades, like actually winning the MVP or winning a Super Bowl. What do you need to see from Jalen Hurts just to see that he has even improved more from what he did last season?
See, quarterbacks talk about, what athletes talk about, you can always improve. Mm-hmm. Whatever those little nuances were, only the coaches and Jalen Hurts really know what they are. And they may share them along the way in training camp or a regular season. But I think if Jalen Hurts plays exactly the same game this year that he played last year, it's good enough to help get this team back to a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. There's no question about it. You can't say that about a lot of quarterbacks in the National Football League. A lot of his game was virtually flawless. Okay, he didn't throw for 4,000 yards, but he accounted for 35, 37 touchdowns, both by way of land and air. Not many quarterbacks can say that. He didn't turn the ball over. He only threw 6 interceptions. No, most quarterbacks can't say that. Most of your better quarterbacks in the National Football League were double digits in terms of throwing interceptions, except Jared Goff, who only threw 7. He had 29 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. I don't know exactly what we're looking at. What did we want to see last year? Could he read defenses better? Yes. Could he make better decisions? Yes. Could he protect the football? Yes. Could he be that field general? When you're 24 years old and you command the authoritativeness that you need in the huddle with Pro Bowlers sprinkled around you, that says a lot about your character and what they think of you and your maturity. He's already answered those questions. So what else is there left to master for him? He will only tell us that. Sirianni will only tell us that. They might just be as vague as saying, oh, there's little things Jalen to work on because they don't want to give the opposition anything to look for. But on the surface, I can't honestly tell you what he needs to improve on because he was just that good last year.
Mm-hmm. I heard you say this on Sports Take with Rob Ellis earlier on Tuesday. And I couldn't agree more. I think the biggest question mark when you're making questions about this season, what do you really want answered, at least in the early goings of the season, certainly by the end of training camp or the early goings of the season, it's what do we have in these coordinators? What do we have in Sean Desai? What do we have in Brian Johnson? And you talked about Brian Johnson with Rob Ellis on Sports Take and how that is a big question mark. You really need to see what he's going to be like as a play caller.
Yeah, see, Brian has spent 2 seasons listening and watching Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni. And I'm assuming that Brian also had some input in the structure of the offense. But when it came down to crunch time, he was in the shadows. And you had the head coach, it's his offense. You had the offensive coordinator who called the plays. Now he's got to step up and call the plays. Nick Sirianni has already given them the green light. Nick Sirianni said Brian Johnson will call his offense. So that tells me the head coach has the utmost confidence in his new offensive coordinator to pick up and to continue what Shane Steichen started. But it's a lot different in terms of standing in the shadows. Now you're in the forefront and you have to make these decisions. What's he going to call on a 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 15 or 4th and 2? What's he going to call? Is he going to be as aggressive? 4th and 5. Is he going to be aggressive or going to punt and settle for the field goal? Those things we don't know yet. We have an idea that because he's been here that it's going to be the same. But no, every coordinator wants to put his own niche on an offense. Will he call the exact same game as Shane Steichen? No. He'll look at opponents and see different things, and he's going to want to try different things. And because he has such a long history with Jalen Hurts, I guarantee you they've talked about certain things maybe that Shane didn't do that Jalen wants to try a little bit more. That's a natural progression. To what degree will it work? Because everything that doesn't happen right in this offense will be compared to when Shane Steichen called the offense. Fair or unfair? And how will that happen? Will there be a point in the season, God forbid, will there be a point in the season, could it possibly happen, where Nick Sirianni announces, I'm taking over play calling responsibility? I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening as we sit here today in late July. Okay. But you don't know. We've seen it happen with other teams.
Right.
Year in and year out.
Yeah.
I don't know. But as we see it right now, that's a big question mark about this new play call.
No, it absolutely is. And I think that when you talk about the coordinators in general, again, the biggest question mark going in. Now, on the players' side of things, and I'll ask you which way you're leaning about a couple of positions. I'm going to be asking a lot of the Eagles experts and insiders I have on the show these same questions. But we'll just talk about it like this. Another question is the safety position, getting away from the coordinators, going on to some of the starting 11 offense or defense. One of the biggest question marks is the safety position. You can look at Terrell Edmonds as a starting safety next to Reed Blankenship. You can look at Sidney Brown. Who do you think wins that quote-unquote position battle? Which way are you leaning?
I would say you have to lean. Terrell Edmonds is going to start. He's
okay.
One of your starting safeties. The question I had anytime, obviously you can't pay everybody, but when Mike Tomlin lets a Terrell Edmonds go, I want to know why. Because he's still in the prime of his career. So why did he let him go? What did Mike Tomlin identify that was just not conducive to what they want to do moving forward? And how can Terrell Edmonds fit into this scheme with a new director, new leadership in Sean Desai / Matt Patricia? Can he adapt? We all know that a player that is successful in one system doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be successful in another, or vice versa. A player that struggled in one all of a sudden flourishes in another system. We don't know how that's going to go. In terms of who's opposite him, I say right now it has to be Reed Blankenship, just based on experience. Reed came out of nowhere last year when CJ went down and showed us that he can play at this level. But he had some inconsistencies because he was a young player finding his way. He made some great plays. He let some plays get away from him. How much has he put in this offseason to get better? overall. It's his job right now to win or lose. As much as I love Sidney Brown watching him play in college, the one deficiency he has been tackling. He's got to improve in the tackling department. What did this team have a problem with as a whole on defense last year? Tackling.
Yeah.
As good as they were at attacking the quarterback, defending the run and tackling, and defending the middle of the field in passing situations. So it's got to start with the tackling. How quickly can Sidney Brown get up to speed in the tackling department? He's a great athlete, but he's behind the 8 ball in terms of making a transition from the college ranks to the pros. Now, I'm not saying Blankenship is going to hold that position the entire season. He may just be holding it down until the Eagles identify Sidney Brown is up to speed and we can insert him. But I think right now it's Blankenship's position to win or lose.
Wow. Okay. So you think in the future it could be a Edmunds Sidney Brown secondary. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Another one for you here is the classic one. Everyone's talking about it. Jurgens versus Steen. Which way are you leaning?
Same way. It's Jurgens' job right now. He's waited. He's abided his time. Jeff Stoutland has a lot of confidence in him. It does shorten the average height of that offensive line. We know the Eagles like Jurassic Park type offensive linemen in there, and they didn't draft Tyler Steen just to draft a big body. There's a reason why they brought back Dennis Kelly as well. Don't count out Dennis Kelly. He was just added to the equation. They want to find out if Dennis Kelly still has anything. So could you imagine if you put Steen or Dennis Kelly in there, you got 6'5" Lane Johnson, a 6'6" right guard. You got the shrimp of the bunch in Jason Kelsey at 6'3". Then you got a 6'6" tackle on the other side and a 6'8" guard, a 6'6" guard and a 6'8" tackle on the other side. But I think right now, because of the respect they have for Jurgens, he steps into that role right away. Can he hold it down? With this team, I'd eventually identify, I think he's better suited to just stay and back up Kelsey and eventually assume that role. That's the only position on offense. Well, not the only, but that's the primary position on offense we have the question mark about. The other one, of course, has to be Quez Watkins. But in terms of who fills that gap, I say right now, like everybody else, that Jurgens has that position on lock right now.
Look at you reading my mind, you clever fella, you.
It's what I do. I've known you too long.
Very true.
Like having another wife almost.
Quick. How many espressos have I had so far today?
At least 4.
You got me pegged. That's exactly right. No lie. Exactly right. Last one for you. Watkins, Zacchaeus. Who are you going with?
That's a tough one. Zacchaeus is on the smaller side at 5'8". Watkins is lightning fast. There's no question about that. But you can be fast as a win. If you don't have the hands to go with it in this game, you're not going to last very long. He has the ability. He's shown he's had the ability. He just has to be more consistent with it. If we can get him where he needs to be, man, can he stretch the field and open up even things more so in the underneath passing game for the likes of Devontae, AJ, and Dallas Goedert. But we've got to see it. He opened his mouth this offseason, dropped a bleep. You bleep all of you, I'm going to prove you wrong. Well, you picked the wrong city to do that in because the first time you drop the ball, there are going to be a lot of people pulling up that tweet that you put out there about what you think about people who doubt you. When I look at Zacchaeus, I don't see him any more than a Zach Pascal. When they brought in Zach Pascal, I'm thinking, okay, here's a guy in Nick Sirianni who Nick Sirianni knows well, bringing him in here to be that definitive slot guy. Think about how many touches he didn't get in his offense. Now, obviously, when you have 2,000-yard receivers in Devontae and A.J. Brown, there's not a whole lot of balls to go around. But when your primary tight end went down for X amount of games, here's a prime example for a slot guy to find his niche in the underneath game. It didn't happen for Zach. And so I'm trying to figure out exactly why they brought in a 5'8" guy to be a slot guy if you're not going to utilize him any more than you utilized the previous guy. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say right now, Pascal is the guy. This is on him now. This is your chance to prove, or you're going to be the next Jalen Rager. You're going to be in a short bus out of here after this season. If you don't turn your game around and eliminate the glaring weakness in your game, which is securing the ball when you catch it, fighting for the football better, and utilizing all the attributes that God has given you in talent, you're not going to be here very long,
Okay. So wait, Watkins or Pat? You want Watkins? Say that one.
Watkins. Okay. Yeah, Watkins. Right. I'm talking about Quez. Yep. Stay with me, Mark.
I heard a Pascal in there. I'm just making sure.
Stay with me. No, but Quest, this is on Quest. This is solely on Quest now to prove the doubters wrong. And the Eagles are going to give him every opportunity to do that.
See, that's why I shouldn't have 4 espresso before I sit down and talk to you.
One, please.
Well, I'm going to have the 5th one before the Phillies game as we tape this on Tuesday night. Don't you worry. Last thing for you here, Gunner.
Yeah.
Last year, Howie Roseman, about 20 minutes before the opening kickoff, said, maybe we need a safety. And he went out and got CJGJ. Is there anything, any wind, anything you're smelling from the NovaCare complex where it comes to maybe a little, hint that Howie Roseman could be looking around for something else? Dennis Kelly's already been at it, as you mentioned. Yeah. Anything else Howie Roseman might have his eyes on specifically as training camp gets underway?
I think they're pretty satisfied with what they have in the fall right now. I don't see them making a splash move right now. You look at the depth they have at the running back positions. You look at what they have a wide receiver in the trenches. They drafted well. Some of the kids who I refer to as redshirt freshmen, Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis last year, are going to have to step up and be primetime players in this scheme now, and rightfully so. Outside of that, nothing's on the rumor mill right now in terms of what they may be looking at. Who knows? They may be looking at another backup corner. I mean, we keep forgetting, their frontline corners are really good. Can Darius Slay hold up for a whole season? He had a great half season, kind of tailed off the second half of the season. We forget they brought in Greedy Williams from Cleveland. Wow. Greedy Williams is a pretty good quarterback. How are they going to utilize him? When you look at the quartet of DBs they have in Avonte Maddox, James Bradbury, Darius Slay, and Greedy Williams, that's a pretty good group right there.
Mm-hmm. All right.
How does it play itself out? But as of right now, they're pretty satisfied with what they have in camp.
All right, Gunner, always a pleasure. Make sure you guys are catching Derrick Gunn and Rob Ellis on Sports Take on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. All things Gunner, of course, following across all social media as well. Gunner, always a pleasure to talk to you, man. Thank you so much.
Likewise, my friend. Eliminate the espressos in your daily diet. You'll be much better for it.
Good enough. Maybe a little rib. Maybe a rib. Maybe give me a rack of rib. I
wouldn't be surprised if you have a cup of espresso sitting with you right now.
No, I don't. I just cleaned the desk, unfortunately. The great Derrick Gunn, the Gunfather himself, joining us on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line.